Testing 1, 2, 3. Guys, let me know if you can hear me loud and clear. All right. Happy Friday, everybody. End of the week. I hope everybody had a productive week. And I did not know this was Labor Day weekend. I thought Labor Day weekend was next weekend. And I'm like, 5 minutes before the show started, I thought about just canceling the show, but I'm like, no, let's just do it. You know, it always turns out good and entertaining and informative. Hi, Miss Jackie. How could tell ya? All right, everybody, please like this video, share this video on your social media outlets, share. And so let's get started. So, today, of course, Fridays are panel debate / discussions. And the question is Africa becoming the U.S. dumping ground for illegal migrants, right? Because the Trump administration is sending the illegals to Rwanda, to South Sudan, to Uganda. Yeah. But honestly, I think it's a slap in the wrist. Yeah. Because they're going to be able to get some type of resident status, permits, job, work permits, some type of citizenship. So it's not like they're going to get locked up. And these are the criminals and the non-criminals. And then also, and so we're going to be discussing that. And also, I want to talk about Hurricane Katrina this weekend, actually starting today from August 29th, and I believe to September the 4th. New Orleans was devastated, was wiped out when the levees broke during Hurricane Katrina 20 years ago. And I kind of want to talk about that with a little different twist. Black people were treated like savages. They were. Black people were treated like savages. And when Kanye West says George Bush don't like Black people or hates Black people, he wasn't lying. So I kind of want to look, I want to get the panels, of course, thoughts and perspectives on New Orleans then and compared to now. Because a lot of those people were not able to return back home because their home was gone. And then when they rebuilt, it was sold off, gentrification, right? And then we're going to sprinkle in a little bit, not so much a debate, maybe it will turn into a debate, but I want to sprinkle in a little bit of Native Blacks versus enslaved Blacks. I do have Naeem, he's up here. And he felt as though Black people were not here before the enslaved Africans were brought here, right? So he pushed back against the Secure the Tribe, Pretendians, or whatever people. But I think that's a good discussion to ask the rest of the panel. But anyway, let me bring on the panel. I'm going to bring Janet. Hi, Janet.
Hey, Dana, how are you?
Good. Janet is from the Star Report. You call into his show a lot. You are a regular call-in, and so I had to pull you a little bit over onto the panel. I wanted you to come onto the panel because you have a lot of interesting perspectives and commentary on a whole bunch of different topics. So I really appreciate you coming on. Do you want to briefly introduce yourself?
Well, my name is Janet. My stage name, if you will, is abountifulsoul.com. I've been watching Dana and Star and Florida Florida Boy J for a while now, and I'm just, I'm learning a lot. Thank you.
And you're retired.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. I am retired, baby. I'm retired. Thank Jesus.
Let me bring in the next person. Consuelo is my weekly regular. I love
Can,
it.
can, can you hear me with my headphones?
I can hear you with the headphones. Both
Okay.
ladies, try to turn your phone in landscape, like turn it sideways so it could be full screen if possible.
All right.
Oh,
I'll
yeah.
see what's going on here? Okay. I
No,
turned it this way.
no,
Is
try
this
to
great?
put your phone in landscape, Janet.
Dana now.
I know.
Let's
If
see.
it's too much,
I don't even know how to do that, Dana.
I know. Just
I'm
leave.
just like, if you could tell me what you want me to do, I could turn it or whatever, but I don't know
Let's
all
see.
about that other stuff.
No, just this is what it says.
Yeah, I turned it now. I don't.
Okay, why does it says my live stream is freezing up?
Oh,
I don't
I'm
know.
freezing. It
It's
looks like I'm
oh
frozen.
yeah.
Yeah. I can't see myself, but I can go out and come back in.
Oh, I can see you now. All right,
Oh,
let me
okay.
bring in Naeem.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Hi, Naeem.
Peace, peace. What's going on?
Naeem, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I semi forgot about tonight, but I'm here.
Well,
So,
I was saying earlier when I came on, and even when me and Jenna was talking earlier, I totally forgot this was a holiday weekend, and I didn't realize until the last minute. And it's like, should I just cancel or whatever? I don't know. We'll just see how this goes. But if I would have known, okay, it's a holiday weekend, so I thought Labor Day was next weekend, I wouldn't even did a panel today because people go out of town or do whatever for the last hurrah end of summer. So, but I appreciate you being here.
oh, definitely, definitely.
Can you guys in the chat just let me make sure I'm not frozen because I don't look frozen here. So I just want to make sure I'm not frozen. What is that in the background? Let me see something. Oh, that's you, Consuelo.
Oh, it is me, even with my. Okay. Okay.
But anyway, okay. So, all right, let's get into. I want to get into the actual topic. Is Africa becoming the U.S. dumping ground for illegal migrants? Now, and this was like a couple weeks ago. It's on August 5th, Rwanda announced it had agreed to accept 250 migrants under the Trump administration, expanding third country deportation program. Speaking from Kagagi government spokesman Yolanda somebody said Rwanda will retain the right to decide which deportees to admit for resettlement. Those accepted, she added, will receive training, health care, and housing to help them rebuild their lives. The program forms part of President Donald Trump's controversial pledge to carry out the largest deportation operation in American history. It also marks the third deportation agreement of its kind on the African continent. July 16th, the U.S. sent 5 convicted felons who came from Vietnam, Jamaica, Nigeria, Cuba, and Yemen and sent them to Eswatini, formerly known as Swaziland, described as barbaric and violent and rejected by their countries of origins. They are confined to isolated units at the Masafa Correctional Complex near the capital of Mbamban, pending eventual repatriation. So, and it also came out that, it says Nigeria, meanwhile, has rebuffed U.S. pressure to accept 300 Venezuelans, with Foreign Minister Yusuf Tugar saying the country already has enough problems and over 230 million people to care for. So Trump is trying to send a lot of the illegals that came here to different African countries. Uganda is one of them. And I want to play this clip because who was that guy? Garcia, the one that was in the news, you know, he kept taking the Trump administration to court so that he won't be deported, Kilmar. Trump plans on deporting him to Uganda. And I just want to play a clip of what his lawyer had to say about that.
Es tremendo.
Can you say more about the lawsuit that was filed this morning against his current detention?
Yeah, so the lawsuit that was filed this morning is asking for an order that he not be allowed to be removed from the United States unless and until he's had full due process as to a claim for protection to any particular country that they want to name. Right now it's Uganda. You know, tomorrow it might be, who knows, right? The main issue, aside from just the conditions in the country, is that country going to actually let him stay there, right? I mean, they can offer to send him to Madrid, Spain, and unless Madrid, Spain is going to let him remain in that country, essentially all it is just a very inconvenient layover on the way to El Salvador, right? Which is the one country that it's already been determined that he can't be sent to, right? So our contention is that they can't send him to any one of the other 200 countries on earth unless that country is given credible assurances that he'll be allowed to have a legal status, such as Costa Rica has already done, right? Costa Rica has already offered refugee status.
So with that, I don't know, guys. My live shouldn't. I'm looking at it on two separate phones here, and it should not be freezing up. So I don't know. But anyway, all right. So what was his name? Kilomar Garcia, whatever. So they plan on shipping him to Uganda. There have been other people being shipped to South Sudan. I want to get, what do you guys think about Trump sending the illegals to the African countries? Who wants to go first?
I'll go. I think it's hilarious. He's saying you gotta go, you gotta leave America, and you've been resistant. And so, hey, since you don't want to go back home, we got another place for you. So, hey, it's hilarious. But, you know, just the fact that these people think they have all the rights over Americans, over the president, it's really serious how deep the coup is going in our government right now. And I don't think a majority of Americans understand what is really happening when judges are blocking the president from removing illegals, which we have laws. And then these people are probably immigrants themselves that are protecting the illegals because they're of their ethnic group. It's some serious issues going on in America, and we really need to wake up.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my stance on it.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else want to chime in?
If I may, this is a horrific policy that is going on, because here we are, we're sending people to a land that they are unfamiliar with. They don't understand the culture. They don't understand the language, and the lands themselves are up in upheaval. What is wrong with sending these people back to their known country of origin? This is what I don't understand.
You saying why we not sending them back to their country?
Right.
Well,
Because
I
I'm
don't
sorry.
think the country wants them to come back. I kind of found that to be kind of odd, you know, and apparently, you know, we kept hearing that Trump sending them to Uganda, but Uganda had come out and denied, saying Uganda said it has not reached any agreement with the U.S. to take in undocumented immigrants, contradicting reports that the East African country has struck a deal with the Trump administration to do so. So, you know, I did find that, like, damn, why is he sending them all the way to Africa?
Right.
But at the same time, these people, especially if they're not criminals, they are going to be granted some type of citizenship or residency and be able to get work, and it's all on our dime, our taxpayers shipping them to different countries in Africa or wherever. But yeah, why they're not sending them back to their country of origin? Why, maybe the criminals, maybe they're sending the criminals to these African countries, but Rwanda is already going to be offering them health care and all types of resources to get on their feet. Costa Rica is letting them get some type of residency, refugee residency, and Costa Rica is nice. So I did find that kind of odd, but
Right? It's kind of odd. Why would you send somebody somewhere where they don't speak the language? They don't understand the culture. They have never been there. It's a landlocked territory. So, it's no way out. Why?
Didn't the Democrats fight to bring this man back to America when they did send him back to his homeland? And then they brought him back?
yes. And then so now, because it was some legal thing where they were suing, the Trump administration, but now the final judgment came down that he has to be deported. So now Trump, and I think he's making an example out of Kilmar. I think that's his first name, but I was going to say Garcia. I think he's making an example out of him and others, the criminals, sending them to these different continents in Africa. But I think too, remember when all those African presidents visited the White House? It was about a month ago. I think behind closed doors, different African countries want to make some type of deal or partnership, trade deal with the Trump administration. And maybe that was one of the stipulates that he put on the table. Well, I got this illegal migrant crisis. Why don't you take some of these people, off my hands? So maybe that was part of the deal to bring in to say, listen, if you want to do business with us, then you have to accept some of these illegals. And honestly, I think it should be thousands of them being deported because Africa has a lot of space.
Yeah.
Naeem, do you have any comments on illegal migrants going to the continent of Africa?
Well, from my understanding, there was a deal struck with the Trump administration and several of these African nations. No one knows the details of these deals, but some have speculated that it has something to do with an increase in aid. And you are correct. Most of those countries do not want these particular individuals back. And so the United States is saying we refuse to house them on our dime while also sending them to another country on our dime, which doesn't balance out to me. But I guess, that they have their reason, their logic, et cetera, et cetera. Doesn't make sense in that regard. But if no other country is going to accept you, the United States is saying we have some place for you to go.
So you all don't think they planting these people in Africa, in the middle of Africa, for other reasons?
What do you
Because,
mean by planting?
well, it seemed to me once you get a get out of jail free card to go to Africa. What is Africa immigration policy? How many people? Now they saying 250 here, 5 people here. I think it's going to be a lot more because it's really odd that you would take the time to come up with this plan to send people to a land they have nothing in common with. It's just odd to me because if that's the case, he could have sent them to Puerto Rico. He could have sent them to St. Thomas. He could have sent them anywhere.
Anywhere on the Western hemisphere.
Right. So, why send them all to Africa? See, now the question is, what is going on in these particular countries that that is so that you will want to send even immigrants that have nothing in common and put them in the middle of that country so they can start their own community.
Well, I think one of the reasons is because now Uganda is saying they have not struck a deal with the United States. And they're saying that we don't have the infrastructure to bring in illegals. So, one article, The Guardian, saying that Uganda said we don't have an agreement. The BBC saying that they have an agreement. But either way, there are some African countries pushing back, saying that, well, why don't you send them to European countries? Well, maybe Trump is selecting the continent of Africa because so many Africans are crossing the Mediterranean to get into Spain, to get into Italy, to get into France, even trying to get into England. There are so many thousands of Africans that are invading the European borders. And so Trump is petty, and that is his way of saying, you know what, then let me send some of the illegals that came here to your country, since your people want to flee your country. So let's just bring the illegal criminals to your country.
Okay, did anybody research the mineral resources of these countries in Africa that they are sending these people to? I'm sorry, I have on my retainer.
That's a good question. I know Rwanda has a lot of minerals and natural resources, and Uganda as well. So yeah, that does make sense that Uganda, Rwanda, maybe that's some backdoor trade to where you want something from us, well, you have to, if you want to trade and do business with us, then this is part of the deal of bringing the illegal migrants to your country. Could be.
Okay. All right, because they're saying here that South Sudan is untapped due to lack of infrastructure and political instability, but they have a significant amount of oil and minerals. Because I don't see anybody. I don't see President Trump saying, "Hey, you want to watch these people because we're going out. We can't do it right now," and then to go all the way to Africa
Well,
to do so.
They've agreed with the Rwandan government that they're going to take deportees. So maybe something is in the works with Uganda that they really are not disclosing, because we know African nations cannot tell the truth about anything. And the fact of the matter is, like, he should be receiving something from Uganda if they're going to send them there, because they've been getting U.S. aid, so I mean, I think a lot of the African countries have been receiving U.S. aid for numerous of years. So already he's saying, hey, you got to do something for the U.S. We already been helping you for
But
over
see,
20 years now.
here's the thing. They don't. You know what? Give me 1 second, because I'm gonna take this thing out of my mouth and my gap is gonna open again. So it doesn't matter. But here's the thing. They don't. African countries, if left alone to govern their own self, they wouldn't need the United States for anything. So why? But they wouldn't need any aid from the United States at all.
Uganda has received, I'm looking it up right now. 2022, Uganda received 37 million, 37 million for health activity. These countries, nobody is really governing them. It's their leadership that sits down at the table with the United States government saying, we want money. When you go and look at how America's organizational chart is set up right now, there is an African Union Foundation so they can receive monies. These people are actually engaging with our American government for our monies, and so they want to be governed, I guess, by the United States because they can't seem to utilize their own natural resources to make sure they're economically viable countries where they can make deals.
Okay, so why
They
can't they
can
use
make
their
these deals
resources?
and make
Uh,
sure that they're
okay,
receiving something.
I hear you loud and clear, but why can't they use their own resources?
Africa.
Yeah, the Africa countries. Why can't? Because the way I'm looking at it, I'm looking at Google, which is available for everybody. These people have more resources and more minerals and things that you can shake a stick at. That they don't need any money from the United States. So why are we sending them aid? What had happened in those countries that made the determination that they need aid from the United States?
Well, because the government is corrupt and their government, will sell out their natural resources for their own personal gain. A lot of these different countries have, a lot of turmoil surrounding the government where it's coups and everything like that. And then on
Mhm.
that, United States military, come in and whether it's France, Belgium, they come in and they colonize and they take control of these countries to control the government to abstract the resources going all the way back to 1895 or 97, the Berlin Conference, when they
Mhm.
divided the continent of Africa. So I'm looking at it, well, these countries in Africa, they are already weak and have been weak for a very long time because their government sold off their country. But it's like, okay, now, in the last decade or so, you want to regain independence. So, but you got to be part of the game because you have China creating silk roads all throughout the east of East Africa. You have Russia there, giving a lot of trade like with Burkina Faso and other countries, right? Doing business with Africa. So Africa is trying to gain their independence now after really selling themselves and selling themselves or just giving themselves up to Europe and of course and then the US. So now fast forward here, what Doge, remember when Doge we don't hear nothing about Doge no more, but at the beginning of Trump administration and Doge was created, they found billions of dollars being sent to the continent of Africa and other countries. What was that? US aid stuff? Billions, not just millions, billions total. And this is just under the Biden administration. So Trump is looking at it, it's like, you know what? Y'all received billions of dollars from us. You're going to take in the illegal migrants. And maybe he's just sprinkling off just a little bit, 250 here, 100 there, 25 here, whatever. And maybe that's the pathway to, we're gonna just increase it to more illegal migrants. You're gonna have to work. You need to work off that debt of all that free money we gave you.
I think it's also interesting that Uganda was the country, the African country that Obama was attempting to force them to make sure they had gay rights, LGBTQ rights. You remember that?
Yeah.
Well,
And then
it's,
it was
I'm
like,
sorry.
not. Absolutely not. But I want to get Naeem, I want to get your opinion in it, and I want to go at it from a different angle. Because you said that there are no black people, there are no native blacks. We all came from Africa, correct?
I didn't quite say it that way, but pretty much, yes.
This is somewhat of a warm up for the eventually down the line of having a debate, right? So this is not a one-on-one formal debate, but you said that black people here in America are enslaved. There were never any native blacks.
So let me say what I said. I said, do I believe that there were black people in America at some point prior to Columbus coming over here? There's some scholarship that says that. There are some scholars whose claims have also been challenged over the past decade because of, update and methodology and understanding, how do you prove these different things? But nevertheless, my claim is that the people that are making this claim that they are native or indigenous, they do not connect to any of those people. I have scoured these people's pages, and now I could just ask Grok. Grok, has this person ever shown any proof that they descend from a pre-Columbian Black indigenous tribe in America? And Grok will come back and say, after an exhaustive research of such and such's profile, they have never shown that they are connected to a pre-Columbian Black indigenous tribe in America. It's always a bunch of pictures, and there's always a bunch of we were already here. But when I ask the question, a very simple question, how are you connected to those people that were already here? Get no answers. I get a bunch of insults, et cetera, et cetera. So yes, I believe, and I'm willing to state the pinky on my left hand, that every last one of us here who are quote unquote classified as Black in this country are in fact the descendants of those persons that were enslaved and brought over from Africa.
So then you will consider Black people here in America to be African American?
I mean, that's a contentious term, but the original way that term was supposed to be used before Jesse Jackson popularized it in 1988, because it wasn't just him, it was a series of leaders, starting with that Gary, Indiana conference that was held in the 1970s, where they decided that they were going to stop using terms like Negro and Black. Well, to answer your question, yes. Yes.
So freedmen, but okay, so you don't have a problem with freedmen, but the freedmen will still be considered enslaved Africans, the lineage of enslaved Africans.
Yes.
Okay.
We're the ones that dusted that term off. And when you go back and you look at the records in history, especially in the United States of America, there's never not a time when those people, meaning our ancestors, aren't considered descendants of Africans. When you look at Chief Justice Taney's opinion in the Dred Scott case, he uses the colored race, the Black race, the Negro race, and the African race interchangeably. When you read the dissent of Justice Curtis and Justice McLean, they say the same exact thing, that Dred Scott, who is a descendant of the African race. So this notion that, this false notion that we're somehow indigenous to this list, just, to me, it's escapism. And it is something used by people that are not really serious about getting into politics. And they just want to have a way to kind of make their presence or voice heard. And I say that people like that are suffering from exotic Negro syndrome. They actually want to be exotic and feel that they're better than the rest of us somehow.
Oh, well, I'm gonna push back, because when I look at indigenous or native, we were here to build America. So, and so far removed from Africa. And the fact that we're amalgamated in a new humankind, made through the ethnogenesis of our experience here on this soil, I cannot just claim African. I know of beings that when you look at them, you know they have native or Indian ancestry just from their features. I know Blackfeet Indians. I know Sioux Indians. I know Cherokee Indians. And now that the Black Creek Indians have won their case to make sure that they're now back receiving the benefits of being a part of that tribe. I can say we have some various admixtures, and I'm not just going to say we're African descent. If that's the case, the whole world is African descent, because even the Chinese have African DNA. The Filipinos have African DNA. And I'm questioning why this is coming up for us as the Americans, the actual original Americans made authentically or made on this soil, is that everybody want to put us in this pot with the Africans now in 2025, when we are really the Americans. And it takes us off of our land. It takes us away from our accomplishments. And then on top of that, it's like saying we somehow are a specific group that is African descent when there's Chinese literally finding out they have all kind of African DNA, but nobody's going telling them that you African. Even white people here in America, some of them have found out they have some Black or African DNA. No one's telling them they have to be an African descent. So it's really weird. It's really weird to me.
So let me give some pushback to the pushback. All of those tribes that she named, Blackfeet, and all, those are not our people. Those are not our people. These people have a genesis in this country from the time that the European colonizers first got here. There are images that were produced way back in the 1600s when Spaniards and French, etc., arrived of certain of these people. This idea that we are those people is just pseudo. What happened at the Supreme Court with those Creek freedmen wasn't the Supreme, because people just are running around because they seen a TikTok video. And I'm not saying that that's what's happening in this case, but it has become prevalent based on a TikTok video that misinterpreted what the Supreme Court said about those particular freedmen, which was only that they had the same, that they were allowed to have their rights as freedmen of that tribe. When you look up those freedmen, if you go to these people's websites, the Muskogee or Creek freedmen specifically, you're going to see them talking about their African descent. Only people online are the ones that's making up all of this crazy stuff, copper colored. When you go to the 1828 Webster's Dictionary, where you find copper colored, they're not talking about us. And we know that because in that same dictionary, they're defining Americans, and they're defining Americans as the original copper-colored inhabitants. There was a woman by the name of Yafa Bey in the Moorish movement. This was about 12, 13 years ago. And she would lecture and teach this thing. And she is the origin of this. And she would take a dirty brown penny, because that's what a penny is. The brown penny is actually dirty from being handled for decades. When you look at a shiny new penny, it does not match your skin tone, especially an original copper penny. And she would put that on her hand and say, see, this is copper. And this is what is meant when they say, but in that same dictionary, there's an entry for Negro and there's an entry for Moor, pretty much describing the same people. So these ideas about, we were already here. I ask the question all the time. If it is the tribe of we, show how you are directly connected to some pre-Columbian, meaning before the European colonizers got over here, before Columbus got over here, you are connected to somebody. Name your oldest ancestor. Name the language that oldest Black pre-Columbian ancestor. I never get any answers to these questions. It's just a whole bunch of words. That's it.
Okay. Well, I just want to say that I'm not denying people. I'm not going to deny people's ancestry because somebody wants to make us just one pot of African, because we are, again, we're amalgamated with various admixtures. The oldest town in Florida or in the United States is St. Augustine, Florida. And it's written there were Black people there, free and enslaved, right? And then they ended up, a lot of them, mixing with the native tribes. Now, as far as where I'm getting my information, the attorney, civil rights attorney that was fighting on behalf of the Creek Indians is Demario Solomon Simmons. And when they first fought and when they first won the case, I think a couple years ago, he literally at a press conference held up his great grandfather that literally set and helped create the Treaty of 1866 for the Creeks. So he can say and he can prove that his people spoke the language and that was there with the Indians at the time. And that's why he was fighting so hard to make sure that they receive, getting back into the tribe. But along with that, I can say on my side, on my maternal side, my great grandmother is listed as having 3/4. When they did the blood quantum, and they give her name, her Indian name, right, spelled out, and her American English name. So this is what I'm saying. There is an admixture. Some people may have more than others. And the people that I know that are Blackfeet Indian, we can say they're us because we know the dominant genes of melanin is going to outweigh any other recessive genes, right? We know that. So we know the melanin is going to come from the African side, but it does not mean that these people do not have that ancestry. So I'm going to just leave it there.
All
And
right.
so, and real quick,
No, go ahead, Dana.
so Naeem, I know that there are people online that said that they believe none of Black people here do not come from no type of African, like no enslaved Africans. Like there's some that say that they have no African DNA, like they're far fetched out there. And I know you push back against them a lot, but what about, because I do have Native ancestry. And I also have enslaved Black American ancestry. So there are a lot of people who do literally have both DNA, both lineage.
All
Can I?
right. So
Okay,
the admixture. The sister said that when she spoke about admixture. That does not mean that you are indigenous to the tribe. There was a guy by the name of legendary Chief Top Cap. I call him Top Cap because all he does is lie. And he ran around the internet making this claim that he was a part of the Alabama Coushatta tribe. So what I did was I looked them up and I actually contacted the tribal representatives. I asked, because he claimed that his grandmother was a chief in that tribe. They said that there was never a woman chief, number one, and there were no Black original people in that tribe. Anybody that was Black and became a part of that tribe is because they married to someone from the tribe, and then those two people had children. Anybody could have Native ancestry. Your freedman ancestor could have married an Indian. That's a legitimate claim. But the idea that Black people were here and that we somehow trace back, that's just false. And nobody has proven that.
So
Even with what the sister was saying.
Oh, go ahead, Janet.
Yeah, even with what the sister was saying, and let me know if y'all can still hear me. Because I switched. Okay, I switched pages. Like this stuff is easy to pull up. Let me read. The Muskogee Creek Nation Supreme Court recently ruled that Creek freedmen descendants. Now, that is key in and of itself. Creek freedmen descendants. And she also mentioned the Treaty of 1866. These slaveholding tribes did not want to give up our enslaved ancestors that they bought from the European, our ancestors who descended from Africa. That is just a historical fact. But let me continue reading. The Muskogee Creek Nation Supreme Court recently ruled that Creek freedmen descendants are entitled to tribal citizenship, affirming their rights under the 1866 treaty rather than the nation's blood-based citizenship rules. Because of blood quantum, many of them were excused. Why? They did not have the blood of those people. They just didn't. They didn't. This landmark unanimous decision in July 2025 resolves a decades-long legal battle for descendants of formerly enslaved people who were included, formerly enslaved people. They're not talking about no natural indigenous people. We know the history, who were included in the Creek Nation, but later had their citizenship challenged based on, as I just said a few minutes ago, blood quantum.
And
Jen, go ahead, Jen.
can I ask a question? How many Native American tribes are there or were there in the United States as a whole?
Oh, I have no idea. Maybe
Okay.
hundreds.
All right. So how many tribes are in the continent of Africa? Because Africa is made of many countries, but it's a continent. How many tribes are in just one country of the continent of Africa?
I have no idea.
Okay,
I have no idea.
so you're making a blanket statement that says that no Africans were here before Columbus. When there's
No, I didn't say that.
oh, so you
I
say
didn't
they
say
weren't here before Columbus.
They may have been, sure.
Okay,
They may have been.
so if they were here, because the Norse people were here 500 years before Columbus, so if and they followed the African and Arab roots, because on their in their collection in archaeology, they find a lot of Islam symbols and things, okay, on their boats and whatever. So it was intermingling with Arabs in the north. In the Northmen. So that's a huge land gap. So if they were able to intermingle, why don't you think that when the Africans sailed and they came up from South Africa and they came up to America, that they didn't intermingle and they didn't come and they became one tribe? Because 90% of the world is brown or black.
Yeah, that's broad, and it's it's a hodgepodge of information that
Yeah,
you're jumbling together.
but I'm
to make
telling
a
you,
point.
I'm limiting that to the possibility that black people who probably weren't called black, they was probably called Creek or something else, were here. And some of us are ancestors of these people. And then I'm looking at this Brown. I looked up some things from the Brown. It says between 1492 and 1800, between 2 and 5.5 million Native Americans were enslaved in the Americas, in addition to the 12.5 million African slaves. So just by default alone in human nature, these people were so much similar that they were able to be enslaved together. So what are we saying?
Yeah, the idea that because they were enslaved together, that they were the same people, it shows that you're not well versed on this topic.
Okay.
If
All right,
you,
so I
if
know
you,
that what is that?
hold on, sis.
Mhm.
If you're versed on this topic, then you would know where to look. You would look at the bodies of liberty doctrine in the state of Massachusetts, where they were enslaving so-called red Indians here and then trading them for so-called Negroes that were brought to the West Indies to work those plantations there, or what I call slave labor camps. They would trade the Indians from here for the so-called Negroes of Africa. This is a fact. Look up the Bodies of Liberties doctrine in
I hear you.
of Massachusetts, right? This is
Okay,
where
so
some say
let's,
Slave. Hold on,
that's,
sis. Hold on,
okay, hold
sis.
on.
This
All
is
right,
where
go
they
ahead.
say slavery was
Give me
first
1
legalized.
second, Dane. I want to take these things
Hold
out of
on,
your mouth.
hold
Give me
on,
one.
sis. This is
I'm
where
gonna
they
be
say
on camera
slavery
for
was
1
first
minute.
legalized. When you look up other records from the 1600s, like the Jamestown, Virginia, which you can find right now, it's virtualjamestown.org. Anybody can pull up virtualjamestown.org. All of these acts that start in October 1629, all throughout the colonial period, they are making distinctions between the people of African descent and the people of Native American descent. And we know this because in March 1655 and 66, an act was passed, an induction to the acts concerning Indians.
So, okay, so
Colonial, the
let me
commentaries, wait, real quick, the commentary says colonial legislators created a distinction between Native Americans and Africans in this statute for the first time.
okay, that's fine. So let me ask you this question because I just want to be clear. You do believe that yes, there were natives here before Columbus.
Native Americans, yes. Do I believe that Black people were here? I believe that there's a possibility.
No, you believe there were indigenous people already here before the
Yeah,
white came here.
yeah,
You
yes.
just don't believe that they were Black.
No,
So when
no.
we're talking about Black, and then we talk about enslaved Black, you're saying they were the enslaved Black people that were brought here, dropped off in the Caribbean, and 5-10% came here, and all through chattel slavery. You saying they were the enslaved Africans? Period.
Yeah. Yes, that's a fact.
No indigenous.
No.
Can I ask a question? All right. Now this may seem simple, right? But let's pretend that we have Pangea, one supercontinent, right? Where everybody was mixing with everybody, and then we had the continents break up over millions and millions of years, and then you had a freeze. You had 2 ice ages, recent ice ages, and they say from that one of those ice ages that the people from the Russian Strait or Mongolia came over into the United States and populated and came down. So, and then you had people that were already here that they found, and then they had people from South Africa. South America come up. Now, are all these people the same race? And let's not forget about the Norsemen that came over here from Iceland and stuff. Now they was here 500 years, no doubt, before Columbus. Now let's take all that in consideration. So all these people that came from all these different directions, were they all the same race? Or did they come and commingle and then become what they were, as we call them, the Native Americans?
Well,
So
I don't think that's not the argument here, because whether that was the case, and a lot of people did intermingle. But what I'm saying is that when it comes to Black here, enslaved Blacks all from Africa, no indigenous.
Well, what I'm saying is, when these things were happening, when this migration of people were happening, there were Africans there. I mean, like, if you could just look at Jesus Christ, if you just look at history, look at the things that they are finding, look at the clothes, the dress, the mixing of words, the wording. You can.
One second, Janet. I do agree with you, because I'm going to move on to the next topic. I agree with you because Africans were here way before the white man came here, and they some of their culture here. They did intermingle. So I'm agreeing with you, not necessarily with Naeem, because I cannot agree with Naeem completely. And like I said, I just want us to touch on this because that is a fact, and it has been proven that Africans sailed across the sea into this shores here, where we call United States of America.
But I'm not disputing that.
South America, way before the white man.
As a matter of fact, Columbus
I'm
used
not
their
disputing
maps.
that. I just want to be clear.
Columbus used their
I just want to be
maps.
clear.
but real quick, Naeem, but the point of the reason why me and Janet is saying that, if Africans came here, settled here, intermingled here, breeded here, then your theory, your premise is not completely valid, because you're saying all enslaved black people here are all African. Well, and not the indigenous, right? The indigenous
Well,
are
we can settle this easy. Which one of you can trace yourself back to a pre-Columbian black indigenous person? What was his or her name?
Well, I will have to go on ancestry.com.
lineage in my family. Now, whatever tribe, I got to call up my mother and grandmother and find out the name of the tribe. But the fact is that, yes, lineage, not just lineage, but DNA, yes, I do. So,
So you do what? You have Native American ancestry? Because I'm not going to argue if you have, those people are not black.
This is Naeem, this is what I'm saying. For me, yes, I have indigenous DNA, and I also have enslaved African DNA, and I also have what we will consider European DNA, and it's not too many far generations removed. So
okay, so let me, because I want clarity real quick.
Wait, hold on, because I want to move on to the Katrina. Let me just read the super chat, and thank you, Alonzo. He says, Brother Naeem, the hunter tells the story until the lion gets the gun. John Ogilvy published the America in 1671 with 75 depictions of indigenous American who numbered in the thousands, and that had nations, not tribes. Thank you, Alonzo.
That means nothing. When you start researching this stuff, that means nothing in regards to what we're talking about. When you start researching this information, as we've done since 2008, 2009, the Europeans use woodcuts, and these woodcuts were prototypically used as boilerplates, right? So a boilerplate is a template that you just use over and over again. So they would have the same exact woodcut images. And I want people use ChatGPT, use Google. Did Europeans use woodcut images for Africans and Native American Indians? So when people
you will lose the argument if you always.
No, sis, there's nobody that could defeat me in this argument.
You're not even accurate.
No, you can't say I'm not accurate. I'm not going to let you say I'm not accurate. I'm very accurate.
That's something a little bit more valid. But all right, so let's pin that right there, because I want to go to Katrina, because I don't want to be up here too long. But this is the 20th anniversary, and I don't want to say anniversary, but it's been 20 years. This weekend today marks the 20 years since Hurricane Katrina. A hot mess. And like I said in the beginning of the show, Black people were treated like savages throughout that whole ordeal. Now, they told Black people to leave. A lot of people stayed. 1,600 people died in Katrina. A lot of these people didn't have nowhere to go. So you're telling people leave, but they didn't have nowhere to go. Why wasn't the Superdome opened for people to go to before the levees broke, before Hurricane Katrina landed? There was really no plan in place before or after, right? So I would just want to go around and get, you guys thoughts on Hurricane Katrina then and now. But I want to play this clip, because this really set it off. Because after a week after Katrina, they had the Red Cross Marathon, and this is Kanye West making this comment that is still very much relevant today.
In Louisiana and Mississippi may end up being the most tragic loss of all.
George Bush doesn't care about Black people.
In Louisiana and Mississippi may end up being the most tragic loss of all.
George Bush doesn't care about Black people.
And George Bush was president at that time. And I have to agree with Kanye West, because it was the famous picture of George Bush flying over New Orleans, over the catastrophe of Hurricane Katrina, looking down. That was a bad optic, right? And then you had National Guards literally blocking off the bridge for people to not be able to cross over into the next town to leave. So they were forced into the Superdome. They were not given water. They were not getting any type of first aid or food. They were really stuck there without any type of help or assistance for probably 3 or 4 days. So, and then they started bringing in FEMA, and then they started bringing in the Red Cross, I think 5 or 7 days after Katrina left. So when the hurricane came and went, it took FEMA, Red Cross, and everyone else, and even our government, 7 days to get to the people and help the people. So I want to get your thoughts on Hurricane Katrina then and now, 20 years later. Who wants to go first?
I can actually remember all of that happening, and I can remember I had just moved to New York City and was there like in awe. Just like, is this really happening? I felt so bad for those people, and now to see the documentary and see it over again, and I met other individuals from New Orleans that lived through that in Houston. And in Minneapolis, they had finally been relocated. So yes, we all knew when Kanye West said that was true. But this is a pattern in America with us, right? This is, I'm not understanding how we are in this place and not understanding what type of society we live in, right? And knowing that we all we got. no one is gonna come help us. We got to be in ready for whatever comes our way. And right now we got leadership that doesn't even speak for us. It's like they're acting like we already been genocided and erased. Mm-hmm. And this was definitely I think especially after watching that documentary, that was a way to try to, hey, let's erase some of this population, man, while we got a natural disaster. They already said the levees were broke, but probably broken purposefully. Right. So, and then the fact that you have where they literally would not allow them to come back and resettle in their areas, and put Mexicans and Hispanics or Latinos in these areas to rebuild, not the people. So that in itself says a lot.
I want to play this clip here.
And the people were left to die. The stray animals from the animal shelter, most of whom would have been euphemized, were evacuated 2 days before the storm, and the people were left to die. Buses that could have gotten out people who otherwise could not get out were left to flood, and people were left to die. The military, which has the great capability of moving entire cities, failed to move in and move out the people the way the dogs and the fish had been moved out, and people were left to die. Mostly poor, mostly people of color. Race had everything to do with the ethnic cleansing and the massacre of predominantly African American people, and being blamed on Hurricane Katrina.
Ms. Hodges,
And you already know.
I don't know what happened to Naeem. So yeah, and the mayor at the time, Ray Nagin, after he left office, he founded a consulting firm and self-published a book about his experiences during and after the big storm. In 2014, Nagin was convicted on charges of wire fraud, bribery, and money laundering related to a city corruption scandal, and was sentenced to 10 years in federal prison. Mayor Nagin's response to Hurricane Katrina drew widespread condemnation for his failure to implement a comprehensive flood plan, a delayed evacuation order, and his decision to direct residents to the Superdome without adequate provisions for food, water, and sanitation. He also refused to utilize a fleet of idle school buses for evacuation, citing concerns over insurance liability and a lack of drivers, which further fueled criticism of his handling of the disaster. So again, he was a black man, high yellow, but he was black. Black people were treated like savages. You want to speak to any of to that, Janet?
To me, I believe that, well, I believe in a lot of conspiracy theories. So I believe this was a pointed attack on Black America, just like the riots of Newark was, just like Black Wall Street. I believe if at its core, if white America could get away with killing every Black person in the United States, no matter what the mechanism is, they will do it. So if you have a hurricane coming and you're saving dogs and cats, they are important lives, but not a Black person or a human life, then that tells me that you hate me. You have a deep down hate for me. So, and and that's fine. That's fine and dandy, but here's the thing, none of us asked to be here. You can easily, the same way you're taking the immigrants and sending them overseas to Africa, you can easily give us all 1.2 million and citizenship up to the United States, up to the third generation, and let us go about our business. Give us 1.2 million piece and let us go into whatever country we want to go to in Africa, and let us do the infrastructure and set things up. Let us go. Because I tell you, because anytime I believe that there's a chance to kill some Black folks and off some Black folks, it will be done. That's my feelings.
I would say more so, not so much that you're Black, not in 2025. I would say if you're poor. A lot of these people were poor, and then I think a lot of them, when they relocated and they were given like a monthly check or something for the Hurricane Katrina, and I've heard a lot of people did relocate to Houston, and the crime increased in Houston because of the people from New Orleans that came in. That whole thing with Katrina, and listen, you can't, it's not, I just wanted to acknowledge the 20 years then and now, because it is gentrified. All those homes that was destroyed, majority were rebuilt and sold off, but it wasn't the people that was living there because they couldn't afford to come back and fix up their homes, or they didn't own their homes to begin with, right? So if they couldn't even come back to purchase the home, they were already poor. And then I'm hearing that some areas are not even fully recovered from 20 years ago. But at what point, when are the people of New Orleans, and maybe this is a stretch, are going to step up and take accountability to just do for self and not rely on the government, because the government did fail, and that was their job to protect its citizens, even state, city, and federal level. It was just horrible the way these people were treated. I don't care if you poor, Black, white, it doesn't even matter. The people of New Orleans and Hurricane Katrina, I think that was one of the worst hurricanes in history. And they were left to die. So I can't really say you're incorrect, Janet, because when you look at what happened, and the reality, these people were left to just die.
Yeah, and a lot of people say, well, it's a a wealth thing or a poor thing. No, no. We can't pacify ourselves with that anymore. We have to understand that our skin tone, the fact that we are what human beings are, we're hated. We are disliked. We are seen as nothing but servants. Nothing as something to just to be used and discarded. They they already told you on the film you played that they don't even see us as worthy enough to be as animals. You have to understand what we're dealing with, who you are. We have to understand what we are, and that Katrina could easily happen again tomorrow. You can understand that Black Wall Street could easily happen tomorrow.
Here's the question: are we prepared?
No, we're not, because we're killing off our soldiers. I don't want to go to war with white America. I have no problem with white America. I don't. It's just that sometimes people hate you so much because they can't forgive themselves for who they are. And they project that hate on you. And I think that's what's going on. I believe that white America cannot forgive themselves for who they are and their whole history, even before slavery, what they did to each other. They cannot forgive themselves for who they are, and they resent us for who we are and how we stand and how we can still smile through the pain and how we can still show compassion for the next person. And I think that is the problem. So anytime that hate is going to be projected, it's going to be projected on the Black face. So
and I also remember the ads, the television, the social media, because Black people looting. But when it was white people evacuating, when they had to face hurricanes or what have you, they were finding food to survive.
That's what I'm saying. It wasn't looting, it was survival. And I say it again, I believe that the resentment towards Black folks, and Katrina could happen again tomorrow or next week, is because white America can't forgive themselves because they can't understand the humanity of it all. They cannot understand the humanity of the Black race. They can't understand how someone could go through so much and still know how to love and still have pride and still believe in a God, no matter what name he or she may have. They can't understand how we could go to a barbecue and dance all night together and not have to worry about anything. They can't understand. They can't understand. They can't understand that they can't forgive themselves for the hate that they have displayed since the cave. So and they project it on us.
You, Swamy. Oh, you wasn't talking to us. I'm sorry. Did you want to say anything?
Well, no, I agree with I'm sorry, Miss So
just call me Janet.
Janet, I agree with her. I don't know what's going on with us that we want to live in this utopia. I don't know, as if these things aren't happening and this isn't our reality. We haven't even been repaired as everybody else.
No.
And then we go and tell our own people, you don't deserve to be repaired. And we're still going through this stuff over and over again. It's a pattern. And I'm like, when are we going to wake up and just say, hey, that's what I'm saying. Let's separate. Let's aggregate. Let's delineate. Let's do our own thing. We got enough. We have $1 trillion, almost $2 trillion economics that we bring into this country, and we can do more.
Give us 1.5 excel. Let us go.
Yes, we keep putting ourselves in this paradigm, knowing what happens every time.
Every time. And then we look at your earlier topic about why Trump is putting people in the middle of Africa. All of a sudden, we have 14 million illegal aliens in the United States right now, today. 14 million. And you worrying about the 250 that he said, why is he sending? We got 14 million, but the 250 is going to make the headline. So my thing is, what's going on here? You got 14 million illegal aliens in the United States right now. The man just denied 6,000 visas from people who want to go to school. So why are you so focused? So why are we so focused on making sure and having all these African leaders come over here that we're going to put 250 illegal immigrants over here? We're going to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over here, and they all going to African countries that are rich in mineral. Why y'all going over there? Why? Why are you going over there? You got 14 million. And the headlines are reading, Africa accept illegal migrants. What's going on?
I want to read this. Thank you, Flip the Script. Barbara Bush responded to victims at the stadium. This is better than most of them have in their homes. The outside areas are still unlivable. Yeah, I remember that.
Told you. Hey.
I remember her saying that. And I'm like, we should never forget Katrina. And the reason why we should not forget Katrina, because you should never forget how Black people should never forget, because you should never forget how Black people were treated in the 21st century.
It's projected hate. It's projected hate. You know, sometimes you'll have a friend and you and your friend fall out and you forgive your friend, whatever, but they can't never forgive you. And everything they do is to bring you down, right? That's because your friend can't forgive herself. And so she projects that hate onto you. And that's the same thing here, but on a bigger scale with race. They can't forgive themselves for all the stuff that they did to each other, did to other people. They can't forgive themselves to a point where they become accepted of their hate, accepted of what they are, and they project it because they're mad.
Well, here's the thing also.
And they want us to live in their reality. Their crazy, abnormal reality.
There you go. Say it again. Say it again for the people in the back, because they didn't hear you. Say it again for the people in the back.
But
there you go.
Yeah, they want us to live in their abnormal reality, and
there
then
you
for
go.
us to act like it's normal, right? And it's okay.
We don't have to live in anybody's reality but our own. But the problem that I have is our reality. You know, forget about white people. What are Black America doing to live in your own sustainable reality, own highly functional economic empowerment reality? And the reason why I don't want Black people to forget Katrina, because you got to understand that this was public policies. This was our own act. This is a act against Black America by our own government. And that has been the case for centuries since the existence of this country. So Katrina happening, and I'm just focusing on Black people right now, completely forgot about the mistreatment. Because if you actually remember that, then you would take action to make sure it does not happen again. And part of that taking action is public policies. And I'm sorry, a lot of those people were poor and ignorant and foolish and criminals.
That don't mean they deserve to die.
So
they don't mean to have a state-sponsored war on them. Technical.
I'm not saying that, absolutely not. But what I'm saying is they were easily to be taken advantage of after the fact, and even before, of not even having a plan in place. But no, that should not. That first of all, our government should not do that towards American citizens or any human being. So that's number one. But they were easily to be taken advantage of even to this day. So we should not forget what happened to Katrina, because yes, it is going to happen again. And it probably did happen, if we actually sit and think about it, happened several times after, but not to that magnitude. But the reason why you don't forget is to prepare yourself to not be in that situation again. And we are not prepared. But I kind of want to end on that note. And
you know what I'm doing. I want us to separate, ethno-aggregate, have our own areas, and we be able to sort of like the Native Americans and do our own thing. We have so many Black cities, freedmen towns. We can have our own governments, and remove ourselves and see how we prosper and excel.
I
But we got to have our
I
capital.
wouldn't be living in that city, Consuelo.
Well, I mean, it'll still be a city, just like, I'm just saying.
And then, I would not be living amongst nothing but black people policing.
I've been raised around nothing but black people, and I loved it. I mean, we had every social economic class,
right?
And
but we don't honestly. But I hear you. You know what? I think we should table that for a panel down the line, because I think that's a good discussion to have.
And where did that go?
Wait, let me just read this real quick. Thank you, Alonzo. John Ogle. Did I read this? John Ogleby was a cartographer for King Charles. What year is this African DNA? Until someone can tell me that, I will continue to view DNA testing as an entertainment tool that it's meant to be. Thank you again, Alonzo. Appreciate you as always. Listen. I'm tired. And I was not going to do a panel live. I didn't realize it was a holiday weekend, but I really appreciate you ladies. And honestly, you know what? I just had an idea. What is it?
What's the idea, Dana?
I'm thinking that my Friday panel should just be all women.
What happened to the gentleman?
He left. But I'm just saying, I think that, I don't know. I think the engagement, the punctuality, the consistency, I think it's even though it may get feisty to, but just mix it up with different women. I think I should just have all women panels on Friday.
That's the idea, but we don't want to, be an echo chamber. In 2025, it was United States dropped bombs in Africa.
Women, believe it or not, women disagree on a lot of things. It won't be an echo chamber.
Okay.
I like to bring people together with different views. Maybe I'll just have an all women panel. It's an idea, and I think I'm going to explore that. But anyway, thank you, Miss Janet. This is your first time. Thank you. I'm pulling you out of retirement, so I would love to have you back.
She's great.
All right. Thank you, Dana. It's my first time on a live.
Yeah.
Ever. My YouTube been up since 2012. This is my first time showing my face on the YouTube.
And I want people to subscribe to Sway Me. You have your YouTube channel. I pinned it in the chat.
Thank you. It's new, so I'm trying something new, Dana, and you inspired me.
Well, yeah, because I went to it and it does look a little pitiful, but what I would do, every time you come on for the panel, I could stream this show live on your channel. I think you could go live. I don't know, but I think you need a certain amount of subscribers. I don't know, but I'll talk to you in a couple of days about that. I'll talk to you over the weekend about that. So,
okay.
Subscribe to Sway Me's YouTube channel, and I'm gonna put it in the description as well. Thank you, Janet.
You're welcome. Thank you.
You ladies next Friday. So let me know your availability. I appreciate you guys.
Okay, Dana.
All right.
Night. Thank you again. Night. Give us that 1.2. Let us go. Bye-bye.
And thank you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Agent, don't be upset. Janet is entitled to her views. Oh yeah, thank you guys. I really appreciate everyone that came on the panel. Actually gave me some good content so I could chop it up and upload it. But I will see you guys next Friday. Have a wonderful Labor Day weekend.